The first time I saw my wife hand cash to a teenage girl, I was sitting in my work truck across the street from the Candleway Motel with rain ticking against the windshield and cold coffee between my knees. Mara stood under the weak blue vacancy sign, her cardigan dark at the shoulders, one hand wrapped around a white envelope. The girl in front of her couldn't have been more than 16 or 17. Brown hair, oversized hoodie, shoulders pulled in like she was trying to disappear. When Mara gave her the envelope, the girl looked around once, then hugged her. Not a polite hug, not a quick thank you. She held on like my wife was the only solid thing left in the world. I lowered my window an inch. The girl said, "He can never know." Mara closed her eyes. I sat there with my wedding band pressing into the steering wheel and felt my whole life tilt sideways without making a sound. Before that night, I would have told you my marriage was made of ordinary things. Mara leaving her shoes where I always tripped over them. Me moving them back by the door because I complained about it but secretly liked proof that she was home. 2 mugs in the sink every morning, her tea with honey, my coffee black. I was 39, an HVAC technician. Mara was a pediatric therapist. I fixed machines that failed for clear reasons. She worked with children whose pain was rarely that simple. For a while, we thought we would have one of our own. After tests and appointments and months of forced hope, we learned how to stop saying that out loud. The second bedroom became an office, then storage, then the place for things we didn't want to decide about. Mara put a plant in the window. I installed shelves. We moved around the absence like furniture. Still, I loved her. So when she started changing, I noticed. At first, it was nothing. That's what I told myself. People are allowed to have hard weeks. People are allowed to stand on the back porch with a phone pressed to one ear, speaking low enough that you can't hear through the screen door. The first time I stepped outside and she ended the call too fast, she smiled like she'd been caught stealing a cookie. "Work?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, sliding the phone into her cardigan pocket. "A parent. Complicated case." I nodded because Mara had complicated cases all the time. But then there were more calls. On the porch. In the driveway. Once in the laundry room with the dryer running. She came home later, saying she had extra sessions, but the wall calendar stayed blank where she usually wrote everything in blue marker. Later that night, I woke to the washing machine thumping off balance. The clock said 12:47. I found her washing one cardigan and a pair of jeans by themselves. "You okay?" She turned like I'd scared her. "Yeah." I spilled something. "What?" "Juice." It was a stupid answer because she said it like she had practiced the word. "Mara." She rubbed her forehead. "Daniel, please. It's just been a difficult week." I wanted to push. Instead, I saw how tired she looked and swallowed the question. Marriage teaches you when to speak. It also lets you mistake silence for kindness. The money came next. $80. 120. Cash withdrawals from our joint account. We weren't rich, but we weren't broke, and small holes still show up. I saw them while paying the electric bill on my phone. When Mara came into the kitchen, I had the banking app open beside my untouched dinner. "Did you take out cash?" She dried her hands slowly. "Some. For what?" "A family from the clinic needed help." "You gave clinic families our cash?" "Groceries. A bus card. Small things." Part of me admired it. Mara had always been generous in ways that made my practical side uncomfortable and my better side ashamed. But she still wasn't looking at me. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew you'd make that face." "This is our account." "I know." She nodded too quickly. "You're right. I'm sorry. It should have ended there." Then I found the gas receipt. It was folded in the cup holder of her car when I moved it to vacuum the floor mats. Dayton, Tuesday afternoon. She had told me she was at the clinic all day in Columbus. I stood in the driveway holding that thin paper while the neighbor's dog barked. Dayton was only about an hour away, but lies make distance feel bigger. That evening, while she chopped carrots, her phone lit up beside the cutting board. "Does he know yet?" The name above it was just T. Mara saw my eyes move and snatched the phone so fast the knife clattered. "It's a parent," she said. "A parent named T. Thomas. His daughter is in a situation. I can't talk about it." "Does he know yet?" I repeated. Her face went pale in a way I had never seen over work. "Daniel, I need you to trust me." That sentence can sound beautiful in the right light. In our kitchen, with chopped carrots scattered on the board and her phone gripped in both hands, it sounded like a locked door. I tried to act normal. I fixed rooftop units, came home, asked how her day was, kissed her goodnight. Then I listened to her breathing in the dark and wondered when the woman beside me had become someone I was afraid to wake. I was ashamed of how quickly suspicion made a home in me. I told myself I would ask her directly. Then I told myself I needed one more piece of proof. That's how people justify things they already know are wrong. I didn't hack her phone or put anything on her car. But I watched. I checked times. I noticed when she said she had an early session and left with no work bag. I saw an address half hidden under a folder on the desk and memorized it before I hated myself for memorizing it. The next Thursday, after my last call ended early, I saw Mara's car turn west instead of home. I was 3 cars back in my work truck. I could have turned around. I followed. She drove to a community center tucked behind old brick duplexes. The parking lot was cracked, weeds pushing through the lines. Mara parked near the side entrance and took a paper grocery bag from the back seat. A gray-haired woman met her at the door. Then the girl appeared, brown hair, oversized hoodie, hands tucked into the sleeves. Young, but with that older-than-young look some kids get when life has asked too much from them. Mara's whole face changed. That hurt more than I expected. She hugged the girl. The girl leaned into her. Mara gave her the grocery bag, then touched her cheek with a tenderness that did not look professional. It looked familiar, almost maternal. I sat in my truck with the wipers moving back and forth, thinking of our empty second bedroom, the plant in the window, the shelves I had installed like that solved anything. Who are you? I thought. And why does my wife look at you like that? I got home before Mara. I put my keys in the ceramic bowl by the door and stood there listening to the house. When she came in, I was pretending to tighten a loose cabinet hinge. "You're home early," she said. Slow afternoon. After dinner, she went upstairs to shower. Her coat stays on the chair. I don't know what made me check the pocket. Maybe I just don't like the version of myself who chose to. There was a motel key card inside. No logo, just a scratched white card. Wrapped around it was a folded scrap of paper with a room number written in Mara's handwriting. When her phone buzzed on the counter, I looked down before I could stop myself. A voicemail transcription flashed across the screen. "Mara, we need Daniel's answer soon. Lily can't keep waiting." The sender was Thomas, a man's name, a motel room, a girl who said he could never know. Mara came downstairs in sweatpants, a towel around her wet hair. She saw the key card, the paper, and her phone glowing on the table. The color left her face. "Daniel," she said. I kept my hand flat on the table because it was shaking. "Tell me what room 214 is. Please sit down." "No." "Tell me what it is." Her eyes filled, and somehow that made me angrier. Tears felt like trying to change the subject. "It's not what you think." I laughed once, not because anything was funny. "You don't know what I think. I know enough." "Then you know this looks bad." "Yes." "Is there someone else?" "No." "Is Thomas someone else?" "No." "Is that girl yours?" The question came out sharper than I meant. Mara flinched. "No," she whispered. "Then who is she?" Mara pressed both hands to her mouth. "She's a girl who needed help," Mara said. "That is not an answer." "I know." "How long?" 3 weeks. 3 weeks of lying to me. I wasn't trying to lie." She closed her eyes. "Yes." I placed the gas receipt beside the key card. Then I put my phone down with the cash withdrawals open. Dayton cash, secret calls, a motel, Thomas. A girl telling you I can never know. Mara wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. "I was trying to protect you. That took the pain and gave it edges. Don't, I mean it. No. You don't get to decide lying to me is protection." She looked at the floor. "Is she in trouble?" I asked. "Yes, because of you?" "No. Because of me." Mara didn't answer. The silence after that was so complete I could hear rain sliding down the window. "There is a girl," she said. "Her name is Lily." I waited for more. Mara opened her mouth, closed it, and broke down in a way I had only seen once before after the last doctor's appointment years ago. I should have waited. I should have let the truth come in its own shape. But hurt fills blanks faster than love does. "Did you have a child?" I asked. "Before me? During us?" "No," she said, panicked. "No, Daniel, please. Then say it. I can't say it like this." "Like what?" "With your husband in the room? That's not fair." I stood, and the chair scraped the floor. "Fair?" She reached for me. "Please don't leave," but I knew if I stayed I would say something I could never take back. So I picked up my keys carefully, like they weighed more than they should. "Daniel." I paused at the door. "I wanted to be sure," she said. I looked back at my wife standing beside a motel key and a cold pot of soup. "Sure of what?" She didn't answer. So I walked out. I drove for almost an hour with no destination. Columbus blurred into wet streets and red lights shining on pavement. I ended up in the parking lot of a closed hardware store, the same chain where I bought shelves for the room we never named. Mara called 6 times. I let it ring. On the 7th, I answered, because I was tired of punishing silence with more silence. Her voice was wrecked. "Daniel, I need you to come to the community center tomorrow morning." "No, please." "Not for me." "She, Lily." "What is this, Mara?" A long pause. Then she said, "It's about Claire." I hadn't heard that name spoken out loud in years. Claire was 23-year-old me's almost love. We met when I was taking night classes and working days for a contractor who paid late and yelled early. She waited tables at a diner that served pancakes the size of steering wheels. She had a laugh that made people look over from other booths. We burned bright for one summer and most of a fall. Then life did what life does when you're young and proud and bad at asking questions. She wanted something steadier. I wanted to be left alone when I felt cornered. We fought. I stopped calling as much. She moved back toward Dayton to help her mother. We said we'd talk. We didn't. I told myself it ended cleanly. Young men are gifted liars when the person they lie to is themselves. The next morning, I parked outside the community center at 8:12 and sat in my truck until 8:26. I had changed shirts twice and still looked like a man who hadn't slept. Mara waited by the side door in a gray coat, hair pulled back without effort. She didn't come toward me. "Thank you for coming," she said. I nodded once. Lily sat at a table near the window with the gray-haired woman. The girl had a paper cup between both hands but wasn't drinking. She looked up and my stomach dropped. Not because she looked exactly like me. People say that in stories, like blood announces itself with a spotlight. She didn't. She had Claire's mouth and Claire's way of holding her shoulders like she was bracing against wind. But the eyes were mine, same gray-green color. Same guarded look I recognized from every mirror I'd ever tried to avoid. The older woman stood. "I'm Ruth, Claire's aunt, Claire's aunt." I could barely move my hand when she offered hers. Lily slid a photo across the table. The edges were soft and bent. In it, Claire leaned against the hood of an old red car, smiling at whoever held the camera. I stood beside her in a faded Ohio State sweatshirt, hair too long, one arm around her shoulders. I looked stupidly young. I looked like a man who thought time was unlimited. On the back in Claire's handwriting were 2 words, Daniel, July. "My mom died in February," Lily said. "I'm sorry," I managed. She nodded like she had heard those words too often. She left a box, letters, pictures, your name. She never told me much, just that you were someone from before. Ruth spoke gently. Claire got sick fast. There were things she meant to explain and didn't. Lily looked at the table. "I found your address online. Not in a creepy way. I just looked." Mara spoke from behind me. She came to the clinic first. She was scared to show up at our house. Lily's voice went hard. I didn't want money. The speed with which she said it hurt. "I didn't think that," I said, though maybe a frightened part of me would have if the room had been different. "Yes, you did," she said. "Not cruelly, just tired. Adults always think that." I had no answer. Thomas was not a lover or a blackmailer. He was a legal aid volunteer who used the community center office twice a week. Mara had called him because he understood guardianship, records, consent, and all the adult words surrounding a kid with no parent left to stand in front of her. The motel room was because Lily and Ruth had driven from Dayton after Ruth's apartment flooded. They didn't want to ask me for help before knowing if I would believe them. Mara had paid for 2 nights and groceries in cash because Lily didn't want a trail tied to me before I knew. "And he can never know?" I asked. Lily's face reddened. She answered without looking up. "I said that because I thought if you knew, you'd hate my mom." That went through me cleanly. "I don't hate your mom. You don't even know what happened." "No," I said. "I don't." Ruth took a folded letter from her bag, sealed in a plastic sleeve. "Claire wrote this when Lily was little. She didn't send it. I didn't take it right away. Finally, I took the letter. Claire wrote that she found out after we stopped talking, that she called once and hung up when a man answered at my old apartment, that she was angry, proud, terrified, that her mother told her not to chase a man who had already shown her how easily he could leave, that by the time she thought about telling me, years had passed, and telling the truth felt less like correcting a mistake and more like detonating a life. She wrote that Lily deserved to know where she came from. She also wrote, "I am sorry I let my fear make a decision for all 3 of us." I read that sentence 3 times. When I looked up, Lily was staring out the window, pretending not to care whether I believed her. "How old are you?" I asked, though I knew. 16. The math was not complicated. The math was brutal. "I didn't know," I said. Lily's mouth trembled once before she controlled it. "That's what I wanted to know. I didn't." She nodded too fast, like she was locking the answer away before it changed. Mara stood near the stacked chairs, silent, arms folded around herself. I looked at her then, really looked. The lies were still there. The pain of them had not dissolved because her reasons were human, but I could also see the 3 weeks she had spent carrying a truth too large for her hands. "You should have told me," I said. Her eyes filled. No. I need you to hear me. You should have told me the first day. I was afraid you'd break. I did anyway." Lily looked between us like she wanted to disappear. That was when I understood my marriage was not the only thing in the room. My anger had a right to exist, but it did not have the right to take all the oxygen. I turned back to Lily. "I don't know how to do this." She gave a small, humorless laugh. "Me neither. I can't give you 16 years back. I didn't ask you to." "I know. I'm saying it because it's true." She looked at me then. Suspicion in her face and something worse. Hope trying not to be seen. I think we should do a DNA test, I said. Only if you want to. Not because I don't believe you. Because you deserve something solid. So do I. Lily nodded. Okay, and after that, I stopped. Promises are easy when you are scared. After that, one step at a time. I wanted to reach for her. I didn't, not yet. That night I went home alone. Mara offered to stay with a friend, and I said yes before I could make myself say anything kinder. I sat in the living room with the lights off. Claire's letter on the coffee table, the old photo beside it. Cars passed outside and sent brief ribbons of light across the wall. Eventually, I dug through the office closet. Behind tax folders and a broken humidifier, I found a shoebox of pictures I had dragged from apartment to apartment without sorting. Finally, I found one of Claire sitting in the diner booth with a straw wrapper twisted around her finger. That did not excuse Claire keeping Lily from me. It did not excuse Mara keeping Lily from me once she knew. But the older I get, the less comfort I find in clean blame. Clean blame is simple. People are not. The next morning, while I fixed the loose cabinet hinge to keep my hands busy, Mara came home with a duffel bag and swollen eyes. Mara, she stopped. I don't want you gone because I'm angry. Her face changed carefully, like she didn't trust Hope. I am angry, I said. I know, and hurt, I know. And I don't know what this makes us right now. She nodded, eyes on the floor. But I don't want another silence making decisions for us. We sat on the back step with a few feet between us. The April air was cool. The grass needed cutting. I thought if I verified everything first, I could bring it to you in a way that wouldn't destroy you, Mara said. You thought you could control the explosion. Yes, you couldn't. No, why didn't you trust me? She flinched. I did. Not with this. Her hands tightened around the water bottle I'd given her. Every time the subject of children came near us, I watched you shut down. I was afraid this would feel like some cruel joke. A daughter appearing after all those years of grief. A daughter from before me. I didn't know how to hand you that without hurting you. So you hurt me differently. She nodded. Yes, I followed you, I said. I checked records. I looked in your coat. I know. I'm sorry for that. Not because my fear came from nowhere, but because I crossed lines I don't want to be the kind of husband who crosses. Mara's eyes filled again, but she did not reach for me. Thank you. We need rules, I said. No more deciding alone what the other person can handle. No more secrets. No more protection that looks exactly like lying. She gave a broken little laugh. That's fair. And Lily doesn't get pulled into our damage. Whatever happens with us, she isn't a problem to be solved. Mara looked at me with relief and sadness braided together. She's a good kid. I know. You barely know her. I know that too. The DNA test took longer than I wanted and not long enough for me to prepare. I asked about school. She shrugged. Art was okay. English was stupid except for one teacher who didn't make her read out loud. Math was a crime. She liked old houses and drawing windows. She hated when people said she looked like her mother because they always said it with a sad face. When the test results came, I opened the email in my truck outside a client's building. The subject line was clinical. The words inside were careful. Probability greater than 99.9%. I read it once. Then again. I called Mara first. She's mine, I said. Mara exhaled and it became a sob. She's mine, I said again, because the words didn't feel real unless I kept placing them in the air. 3 days later, Ruth called and said Lily was leaving for Dayton in the morning to stay with another aunt for a while. She thinks she's made things worse, Ruth said. She won't say it like that, but that's what it is. I drove to the bus station before work with my shirt buttoned wrong and my hair still wet from the shower. Mara asked if I wanted her to come. I said yes. We found Lily near the vending machines with a duffel bag at her feet and a ticket folded small in her hand. Ruth stood a few yards away, giving her space. Lily saw us and looked immediately embarrassed. You didn't have to come, she said. I know. I'm just going for a little while. Okay. She stared at the ticket. It's too weird here. I believe that. You and Mara are fighting. We were already cracked in places you didn't make. That's not true. It is. She shook her head. If I hadn't come, if you hadn't come, I still would have had a daughter I didn't know about. Mara still would have been scared of telling me hard things. I still would have been the kind of man who thinks silence is safer until it isn't. I sat beside her, leaving enough room that she could move away. You didn't create the truth, Lily. You just carried it farther than any kid should have had to. She blinked hard, looking straight ahead. I don't know what I'm supposed to call you, she said. You don't have to call me anything you're not ready for. That's a weird answer. It's the only one I've got. She rubbed the edge of the ticket with her thumb. I looked at my hands, work hands, hands that knew how to loosen rusted bolts and test pressure, hands that had no idea how to hold this moment. I can't fix missing 16 years, I said. I can't make your mom's choices simple. I can't make mine better than they were. and I can't promise I'll be good at this right away. Her chin trembled. But I can show up next Saturday and the Saturday after that. Or I can text first. Or I can sit in a diner and let you tell me math is a crime. I can learn, if you'll let me. She covered her face with one sleeve, furious at herself for crying. The boarding announcement came. Lily didn't move. Lily stared at the ticket for a long second. Then she folded it again and slipped it into her hoodie pocket. I'm not going today, she said. A few months have passed since then. I wish I could say everything healed in some clean cinematic way. It didn't. Mara and I still have conversations that leave both of us tired. Sometimes I hear her phone buzz and an old reflex moves through me before I can stop it. Sometimes she overexplains where she's going, and I have to tell her I don't want a report. I want honesty. We are learning the difference. Lily doesn't call me dad. I don't ask her to. In her phone, I am Daniel, which is more than I had before. She sends pictures of her drawings sometimes. Mostly buildings, windows, long staircases, rooms with too much shadow and one square of light. Once she sent a video of a heater making a terrible banging noise and wrote, "Is this supposed to sound possessed?" I drove over with my tool bag. The fix took 12 minutes. I stayed for pizza. There is a blue mug in our kitchen cabinet now. I bought it without making a speech. Mara noticed and touched my shoulder as she passed, just once, her hand warm and careful. On Thursdays, Lily comes over after school when she wants to. Not every week. Enough. She sits at the kitchen table doing homework, pretending not to listen while Mara and I make dinner. The first time she left her hoodie on the back of a chair, I almost cried over a piece of clothing. Last week, I drove her home after a small art show at school. She had one drawing taped to the hallway wall, an old house with one porch light glowing. She acted like it was no big deal. I took a photo anyway. When we pulled up to Ruth's place, Lily sat in the truck for a moment with her backpack in her lap. "Thanks," she said. "For the ride? For coming." I nodded because my throat had tightened. She got out, then leaned back in before closing the door. "See you Saturday, Daniel? Not Dad? Not yet, but Saturday." I watched her walk up the porch steps. The light came on before she reached the door. For years, I thought the empty rooms in a life stayed empty forever. I thought silence was a way to survive pain without making a mess. I thought truth, if it came too late, could only destroy what was left. I was wrong about all of that. The life I had before did not come back. Maybe it was never as solid as I believed. But something else arrived in its place. Something harder, stranger, more honest. Mara still leaves her shoes by the door. I still move them back. Only now, sometimes, there is another pair beside them. Scuffed sneakers, laces never tied right. Proof that the past can knock without warning and still be invited in. And when the house gets quiet, it no longer feels empty in the same way.